All right, it's 6 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. Clerk can have a roll call and establishment of a quorum.
Cindy Biting.
Here.
Mary Beth Shaw.
Here.
Barb Stotts.
Here.
Matt Crowe.
Here.
Dylan Helmenstein.
Here.
Angie Wolf.
And we had a heck of a travel day, so
Yeah.
she's not joining us today. I have proof of posting. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing done. Cindy? Yes. Mary Beth? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yep.
And I'll vote yes as well. Do we have any public input tonight? Do I have a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting minutes of August 14th, 2023? So. Any discussion? Hearing done. Cindy? Yes. Mary Beth? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yep.
I vote yes as well. All right, first up on district business, finance. We have our gurus here tonight to talk about our preliminary budget. It's attached, and so if everybody wants to open that, maybe we can
You
switch
got
seats.
questions?
and-
I'd like to come up front if you
Yeah.
do, so I can look at it. I don't know.
You guys want to move back?
Just so everybody knows, Derek and I have kind of got little different duties within that business office, so I worked on this, he took care of your audit and is doing a lot of the claims, so
Awesome.
it's a real partnership here
Team effort.
with this. So, I'm not sure what you've had in the past. Does this look familiar?
Yep.
And I'm not sure the explanations that you really had, so, I can make this half hour, I can make this 2 hours,
No.
whatever you want. What would you like? Shorter the better?
Short.
Okay, good. So when we look at this, we ended the year, last year, revenues over expenditures, about $682,637. Now, I did this calculation, but if you go down a little bit in this, Dylan, where you at here?
Yep.
You maybe didn't notice this, and nor did I, but keep going down. No more. Oh, that's way too far. What are we looking at here? 690, okay, keep going.
Back up or down?
Down, sorry. Keep going. Keep going. And there's the same numbers right there, so I did that little calculations. That gives you your revenues over expenditures. You had asked for 21, 22, 22, 23. And right now, typically, we give you a balanced budget at whatever it is up on the revenues up there. I don't have that right in front of me.
1275.
1275, over $55,000, really expenditures over revenues, and I'll take care of that. I just wanted to get something on paper. And the challenge of building this budget is coming in when we came in on July 28th, and really it's that we call it institutional knowledge of this place. And we're building it. I think we got a good handle on what is happening in 23, 24. 21, 22, 22, 23, the building project was in there along with the ESSER grants and all that different funding makes this budget really challenging because you do not have the consistency from one year to the next year to the next year. And that's how you really can start building good budgets because you have some budget assumptions. But this budget, as we, let's just go up to the revenues real quick. Starting at the top. We have approximately, our revenues are up last year on the local side about $462,000. We'll talk more about the taxes in a little bit. But there's two areas where we're, you can go up just a little bit. And one of them is our ESSER budgets. Okay, I'm sorry, down.
Okay.
If we stop, school districts.
600 and 700 sources.
Yeah, 600, you can keep going up there. Just get my bearings right.
Next page, I think.
Yep, one more down. Okay, and if we stop here, the pandemic dollars here, this was a grant worth about $75,000 last year that we received. And this was early in September. The governor had some additional funding and he said, hey, I want to do something with these dollars. So he gave every district some money. We got $75,000, so we lost $75,000 in revenue that we can't replace. Okay, this is above and beyond the pandemic dollars or the ESSER fundings that are down too. We have approximately $190,000 left to spend in the ESSER budget, and that's in there. So we did have to move a few things into the district budget. The other budget area that really kind of took me by surprise, I saw it, I kept looking at it, and it didn't ding until I totaled up all the revenues, but fixed assets, you sold a building last year for about $500,000, I believe, right?
Two of them.
Or two buildings? Okay, so that's another $500,000 that we have to replace in the budget. So that's why your overall question, when we go down to the total revenues on the bottom, okay, when we look at them right here, why our revenues are down. Okay, we picked up about $642,000 on the revenue limit. Okay, the governor passed the budget for us, and we got about, I think, what was it, $375 or $325 per student increase. Okay, so that gave us about $642,000, but that kind of got offset by some of the losses overall in the revenues. We were still able to meet our salary and fringe goals that you set for this year, but I do have a little bit of work to do, both Derek and I do, to get it to a balanced budget, but I really don't see that as a problem at this point in time. There are two unfilled positions within this budget that we know of, and that would be your business manager and the curriculum coordinator. So you have a little bit of flexibility there with those two positions. So as we're looking, the other question was, when we start looking at the undifferentiated curriculum, again, there were some additional expenses in there for about $20,000 for building improvements. So that's what, we took those out of the budget along with the sales, so they kind of offset each other a little bit, the revenue and expense. So that's why you're seeing an overall decrease when you're looking at the undifferentiated curriculum there. So I think if you scroll down to the two other areas, one of them is in business administration here. Our transportation costs are up significantly when and our insurance cost, our property insurance is up about $30,000 by itself. So I don't know why that is. I assume that's just what's going on in the state. Property insurances are going up. And the other area is in our transportation. And I called and got the estimates from them, what the cost would be this year. And I'm not sure why. You know, we all have our methods for doing different things, but our transportation costs in the area of the budget and the actual expenses didn't really match up to what we saw last year in the budget. So I had to adjust them, get them closer. The thing that I will tell you though, that when you're doing a budget like this.
Greg, can I hop in?
Yeah.
In that category that says business administration, there is a lot of other stuff besides just the business office that's in there. It's business office, it's transportation, it's general operations, it's custodial, it's maintenance. So there's a lot of stuff in there that are making that up. So the title of that group is very misleading.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of small ancillary things that kind of are funneling why that's going up and why that's such a big number. It's not because you guys are paying Greg and I that much, for sure. But that's, I just wanted to kind of provide some context of what's all included in that grouping.
Could you see that list again quick? I missed the first.
So there's the business office, there's just general operations, so like just general like custodial supplies, maintenance supplies, all the maintenance department, all the kind of field work or kind of site work, and any kind of building improvements that would also go are kind of all in that grouping.
And it's not like we had any of that done within the last couple of years.
Right, there's been nothing going on.
Right.
And it was interesting though, when you, and the other thing that complicated things when you're looking at the expenses, budget versus the expenses, is that a lot of the coding changed. Because you had the two buildings, now they're in one building, so you got a lot of negatives and then a lot of positive in areas. So you really have to rely on our, what we call the Barrett Com module, which projects what your salary and fringe will be for the next year, and it does a good job. I have a lot of trust in that. I used that for the last 18 years. You were using that here. Bev does a nice job with that. So got a lot of faith in there. But what we don't know really what's going on, there was one area, and I think that was in, I think business administration also, there was a $40,000 in there for administrator sick leave payout. Now, I don't, that's the history I don't have. So I got to take a look at that and kind of find out. It might be just an area in that comm module that, you know, us business managers use to protect, because you will all be accepting if we come in under budget, but it's when you're over budget where the explanations start to come in. So those are some of the things that we're trying to work on and trying to figure out when we're looking at this budget. So when we come back in October, we'll have revenues equaling expenditures. We got 3 areas that we're waiting for. One is the first hurdle is the third Friday count. The second hurdle is going to be what our equalized values are for the district, and they're up 9%. It's just amazing how much they have increased. You know, that train's going to slow down, I think, in the next coming years, but we'll take it while we can. And the last thing is we got to look at the state certified aid that's coming on October 15th. So when we come back at the annual meeting, we'll have this all wrapped up. And hopefully some good explanations or a good, I wouldn't say a good budget, but have this budget kind of wrapped up in a nice little package for you. So, if you want to keep scrolling. Fund 27, these are the 2 funds that I focused on, Fund 10 and Fund 27. Don't know if you're familiar, but we do a transfer from Fund 10 to Fund 27 because we get X amount of dollars in state aid. I think last year was 31.5%. This year they moved it up to 33%. When we're looking at the state funding, if we go down a little bit more, you can see that little bit of bump that we had in state aid from 533 to 608. And then the 730s, if you scroll down just a little bit, this is right up here. This is preschool and your flow-through grants for special education. They're federal dollars. We've gotten them. We've gotten them since I've been in the business and since Craig's been in the business, so that's a lot longer than I've been in the business. It's certainly been around for a long time, so we're fortunate to get those because they, in the end, help offset some of those costs that we have for special education. So if we go down to the bottom here, go back up, I'm sorry. We're over budget here by about $22,752. I knew this going in, and I could have corrected it very quickly, but I've been bugging Bev and some of the people in the office. I didn't have the heart to tell her we have to make some changes, so we'll come back with that, which will actually lower the costs in Fund 10. So we'll bring some costs from basically Fund 27 district provided costs back into the grant, which will move that 55,000 down to 30,000 and zero this out. So we don't really have 30,000 on the top. We really, for 55, we really have 30,000. We're looking at Fund 39, if you want to scroll down a little bit. This is your debt service fund there. We've been kind of toying around, and Derek and I were just talking about this before we walked in the door. Last year you did a defeasance where you paid off debt early, very smart, to take care of that debt, pay it off early, save the interest on that. We're going to be in a position this year to do that again, and I'll show you that in a minute, what that could look like. But I think we're recommending, we talked with Craig over here, and we'll be recommending that we defease some dollars too. That'll also give us the ability to keep that levy flat again, so that you don't have those peaks and valleys. Fund 41, I'd like to say I got my head wrapped around what's going on in there yet, but there's still a little bit of work to do with Fund 41, Fund 46, and what's going on there. I don't know how Derek feels after that, but I think it's pretty safe to say, what I don't know is where we're at with that solar project yet, and how much we'll be taking out of this to cover that. So, and also as a backup, if we needed to, there's some costs in Fund 10 that we could move in the capital projects in Fund 10, that we could pay out of Fund 46 if necessary. But I don't know that we'll be doing that, or need to do that. Can you scroll down again? Fund 50, yep, right there. These are just basically the costs from last year yet. I haven't really done anything with this. Talking to the food service director in Toma, our food service director, Sandra, is busy just trying to get the kids ready to feed right now. So we will be working, or fed, we will make sure that we have this in place again by the annual meeting. So I've been talking to a food service director in Toma, and he's gonna help work with me to try to get some good budget figures. And then I will take that information back to Sandra, and then we'll be looking at that. But she's, again, really, a lot of us are just focused on trying to get the little things done here so we can keep moving forward. Then Fund 99 is a grant that you received, the Grow Kids Grow Grant, I think it is. And that's a scholarship. I know
Yeah,
Liz knows
that
more
is.
about that grant than I do.
Yeah, that's the money that we received from the Department of Workforce Development for the Wisconsin Innovation Grant, so.
And we're the fiscal agent for that,
Correct.
so, is this the last year of that grant?
It ends in 25.
25.
We have a full 18 months yet.
So that really kind of takes us through your budgets. I know you may have questions. If you do have questions, feel free to contact Craig, Derek, or myself. If you want to talk a little bit more about it, please feel free to do that. There's a lot of information here, so unless you have a specific question, I think I'll move into the revenue limit worksheet and just give a little bit overview of that and what that levy summary looks like at this point in time. Any questions?
Well, I sent you that list and you answered a lot of mine that I sent you, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you adding those columns with the growth, that's really helpful.
Yeah, okay, they like that, good. And we'll have a little better explanation again for why things may be changed at the annual meeting and things. So this is a levy summary, you can just, you shrink that down, yeah, bring it down to about 80% maybe, yeah, there we go. So what I like to do is look at 22, 23 and compare to 23, 24, and in the end, really what we care about for the most part is what is the mill rate going to be for next year, okay? That's really why we're here. When we look at the mill rate last year, and I like to look at it per $100,000 of valuation, was $1,075.48. This year, with the defeasance, and I believe that's closer to $1 million, I didn't change this down right here, you're looking at about $1,070.28, or a decrease of about $520. Overall, again, when we talk about the revenue limit, we increased our revenue limit capacity because I built a revenue limit with no student growth, so we increased by about $642,747. Our state aid increased from last year from $1,677,000 to $500,000, or $1,677,500 to $181,283. And again, but our overall levy did go up $461,464. When we look at the defeasance, which we would add to that, we would have a total levy of $11,309,850, which is an increase of about $818,000. But we did see that significant bump in our property values, which is about 9%, which had an overall effect on the mill rate, again, by about $5.20 per 100,000. So that's a quick go through with this. It's been a lot of work, I spent a lot of time on this, and getting to know who you are and what you got going on in these accounts in a short period of time has been challenging, but I've also thoroughly enjoyed it because it's fun to get to know these numbers. I like putting budgets together. I feel pretty confident where we're at. So, what's that?
I was just laughing at your excitement for numbers.
It's like Christmas for us.
Yeah,
business
it was great.
managers. But anyways, again, I look forward to coming back to the annual meeting. Derek, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to any of this?
Oh, just
Any questions? Again, this is all preliminary. We're just getting getting into this conversation, and hopefully as we go between now and the annual meeting, we'll kind of tighten this up and give you more information too.
I guess I have one point, Greg.
Yeah.
Just to note that this is a preliminary budget, and budgets do change and will change, and we will guarantee you this will not be the number we bring to you on after the October 15th number, so just noting that these are very preliminary, we have a good base, but they're always subject to change and will change.
And one of the things that I've tried to do, and again, Derek and I will talk a little bit about it, but we'll start monitoring what's going on in the budget probably in January, February. So if we have to make any adjustments, we'll get those adjustments, make those recommendations to Craig. Craig will bring them to the board and get those approved as we move forward. So we're not just coming back at the end of the year and say, hey, here we're at, we're up or down. Because again, we want to come in under budget. Our goal is never to come in over budget. So we'll do our best to get there.
Well, I just want to thank you both for all your work on this. We're so lucky to have you. In thinking just shy of a month-ish, it's like we were down a superintendent, down a business manager, and yet still talking about going to referendum and trying to wrap our brains around what that meant. So thank you so much for all your work. And it is important, like you said, when we're asking questions, especially transitionally between the last historic, years or whatever, you weren't around then. And so it's a lot of it is guessing games, and even for us, looking at numbers and changes of why. And so,
And we'll rely on you for some of that explanation too at times.
Yeah.
A month ago, I was fairly concerned about where we were at with the budget or the lack thereof. And I would joke, to these guys, just go in your cubby hole and get that budget done. But I've been up to speed or meeting with these guys on a regular basis. Excuse me. Been a long day. I have a much better comfort level where we are with the budget and feel like we got this thing in control, and the numbers will be what the numbers are. Gathering some of the historical data as we look at the final eventually, that's going to take some more time. Why are these numbers like this? When we weren't the ones that put the budget together last year or the year before, and as Greg stated earlier, because of the ESSER dollars and the completion of the building project, it's difficult to compare the last couple of years. But we'll get this thing done timely for the annual meeting.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Alrighty, moving on to our district business, 511 facilities. Short update on some of the punch list items still yet to be punched for.
Well,
for
Dale
PSI.
and I toured the building, I've been through it a number of times. I'm gonna turn this over to Dale. The last time that we walked through, things were moving ahead. They were still finishing up drywall on the outside of the gymnasium, and I think it was more than anything, the cleaning they had to do. Quite frankly, I think it looks nice. It didn't look nice prior to, and you wonder why, but after I saw what it looked like, I wouldn't have known that that was an afterthought. It does fit right in. Any comments?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any big needs or, things that jump out, like they still need to do, such and such, not
Does the
aware of
flooring
anything.
look better?
It does.
Okay, good.
Yes, it does, and I know, even at the end of last week, there were a couple of guys in there still working on the floor. Didn't see anyone today in there, so I'm thinking they have finished what they need to do. There was just two guys there at the end of last week, just doing some small fixes on the floor. So Mike stopped by, beginning last week, and just touched base with me, and but I haven't seen him since. So
There were dozens of pieces of blue tape or yellow tape all over, and those were the represented the chips of tiles that need to be replaced.
Yeah, and as I didn't see any pieces of tape today, and, those were jumping out at me before, when I first, so I think most, if not all, have been addressed, so.
And then Dale and I will get together with Bill and determine what that final walkthrough looks like, and then officially let you know when that gets signed over.
In looking to the start of school next week, notice we're in for a little heat wave.
Yep.
And it made me think how the airflow situation has been this summer. Has that all worked itself out?
These, you know, any large buildings, you're gonna
I
have
know,
some of those
fluctuations.
concerns.
Okay.
I don't know,
Okay.
you know, particularly there, because I don't know exactly at the elementary school. Not sure what the concerns were.
Okay.
We were in this room last week when we had that heavy heat. We had our new teachers in here, and this room cooled down. My office tends to be, on those belt things, a little too cold.
70 today.
You know, we've got, part of it is you gotta get the kids in the building too, just the whole movement, doors opening and closing. I don't know if there's been a school I've ever been in, I don't care if it's been brand new, that everything just seems to flow, you know, just smoothly, but we will certainly monitor that.
All right, then moving on to our superintendent search discussion and update.
Yeah, here's what I'd propose. We talked a little bit about this, I believe, at a retreat, and I think originally when I interviewed, I said, let's wait and, you know, get this thing through the school board convention. Talking to some of my colleagues, they're anticipating a number of openings again, and they're suggesting we start now. And it makes sense when I say now, it's, you know, if we start now in terms of, you know, bringing forward a recommendation for a firm, you know, you're still looking at the end of December before you're on board. I think what's really important, you know, with the changes to the business office, with the changes with Scott leaving, Dale, I mean, there's just been a number of administrative, Tammy leaving, all of that, and Tammy's position ties into the business office. You really, before we start patching all of those other, not patching, but making decisions on that, what does your new superintendent think? And what qualities and expertise does that particular person bring, so you're not overlapping? And so it really does make sense to get that person on board as soon as we can. And I did talk to one consultant, said, you know, when you work with the school board association, you can't recruit. It's unethical to go to a membership school and try to steal one of the, you know, the firms can do that, and they do. They've got lists of people out there, you know, people that are interested in certain parts of the country or state, and then they've got an idea of, you know, what they bring to the table. You know, you only need one superintendent, one applicant, as long as it's the right one. And some might not be the right person for a district, but they might be the right one for the next school district. So I would suggest that I make contacts to 3 firms and have them send a proposal, and then I would review that with Barb, and then make calls, and then determine whether or not we have a clear recommendation, or whether or not we want to bring in 1, 2, or 3 firms to interview in front of them. We might be able to do that via Zoom. It just depends on the proposals themselves. We all good with that?
I think that anything over the last few months shows that we need somebody who can really fit our district right away. You know, 'cause you never know what's gonna happen, so.
They gotta hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of people going out to search and take good folks from other districts. Me too, because it's important for us.
You know, we can all, hindsight's hindsight. It probably is a good thing that you have an interim this year, based on all the
We've
changes.
said that multiple
Oh,
times.
yeah.
Somebody else coming in, maybe new to the business. You know, it would be very, very challenging. So,
Especially if it was a new superintendent, I think it would have been overwhelming and we would have burnt them out.
yeah. And unless you've got somebody with experience that's really interested in getting into this part of the state, chances are you're gonna be hiring someone that's not gonna have, will be experienced, but not necessarily as a superintendent, and that's okay, as long as they're surrounded with the support they need. So, okay, I will do that, and it's possible I could have something prepared for our next meeting. But you'll be surprised, how much time this takes, and the proposals will probably start in September, or their timelines, and it'll fill up for the next 3 months with a selection and an announcement at the end of December, possibly right away in the beginning of January, but that gives you the time then to figure out the jigsaw puzzles moving forward. Okay?
Can I ask Barb or Cindy, how much was the WASB search from last year? The end of
I'm
the
not
day?
sure what the end number was, but I think it was not to exceed.
9.
It was, but I think our, was 5. I don't think.
Yeah.
Because we shifted our priorities and didn't do a lot of
Yeah,
the
I don't
stuff that
remember what it
they.
actually ended up being, but that was what the original was.
Right, not to
yeah.
exceed 9, but I think it was
We
well
were way
below,
under. Yeah.
5-ish is a conservative number. But it was also shrunk down probably half the time
Yeah.
that normally you would spend with somebody. Yeah. But I think we learned quite a
Mhm.
through that process, on what we're looking for in the future, and people and personalities and things that can then help us this time around, so.
This is not the time to save, $5,000-$10,000 when you take a look at the big picture. It's the most important decision you guys will be making, not only this year, but likely in years to come.
When we were going through the process, we had a lot of folks come in and discuss our mission and our value statement, and they're a little out of date now that we're in a whole new situation as a district. Is that something we're gonna try to do before this process, or do it with our new
With
superintendent?
your new superintendent.
Yeah, we had kind of projected that would be a part of this new hire
Yep.
previously, as far as getting in and working with him. Because we don't want to do it before somebody's here,
Right.
obviously, we want them to be part of the team.
You've
So,
got to
yeah,
have
it's-
your superintendent be involved with that process.
So eventually,
Right.
it's on the radar. Any other questions for Randy? No?
Okay,
All
thank you.
right, moving on. 8.1, open enrollment.
Nope, 7.1.
7.1, school perception.
In your packet, I have some information on school perceptions. It's a summary, it's a proposal, it's it's a menu of options that we don't have to decide tonight. Again, Bill Foster, I spoke with today. We played phone tag last week, otherwise I would have had more information ahead of time. Bill has been working with schools in Wisconsin for like ever and a day. The menu involves surveys for parents, for staff, and for students. And then there's some add-ons, hourly rates and whatnot, that quite frankly I want to sit down and talk through with Bill. These surveys are somewhat general, but keep in mind, they're general and created over, the last 20 years. And then we'll work individually with Bill to tweak it, to make it unique to Wisconsin Heights. I'm thinking that's going to cost approximately, Bev asked me yesterday, and I said it's going to cost between, 5 and 12. And from what I'm looking at, somewhere in the area of $8,000. So once we finalize that, I'll bring that forward. I believe my limit's $5,000, which we had talked about. That should get raised. But I'll bring that back for official approval. But I feel comfortable based on the numbers. I'm going to start working with Bill and I'll start to get this thing going, so at our next meeting, we'll have more information along with what that contract will look like.
Do they have any type of contracts available, like if you use them on an annual basis for something small, or do they do that scope of surveying, or?
I don't know if I'm following you on that.
Like obviously, we've utilized them for big events, like
Mhm.
referendum, and if we, haven't used them in a while, now we have a big purpose. But if we just want to use them annually for end of the year, kind of
I
feedback
would-
surveys.
I
or is
would-
that-
Suggest that you turn this into an annual,
Okay,
and then what you're saying, maybe possibly multi-year. You've got to get baseline data, and until you have baseline, you can compare it
Right.
to. And the other thing, I think we got to be careful, and I'm not the expert here, when you give the survey.
correct, yeah.
If you're going to give it at the beginning of the year, 1 year, but the end of the year, the other. And those are all questions for Bill, but
Okay.
I'll learn more about that.
That's a good question, Barbara. I think it would be interesting to learn more is, it's like, do we use them every year, or can we or do we reuse, so then we always have a status quo, so we have that baseline this year and then have the same questions? If they're generic enough, they can apply to so many different things, but we can then compare back as that baseline. So it'd be kind of interesting to learn.
Well, and part of the contract allows Bill's time, and now we live in the world of Zoom. The price difference, it's $200, to have a meeting over Zoom, but $800 to come here.
Right. I like that you-
So we'll have a Zoom meeting, and we can ask Bill all those questions.
Sounds good.
Well, and I think part of it is using a third party for a level of, being anonymous.
It's a comfort.
And be comfort level that school board is not conducting a survey, it's a third
Oh,
party
trust
going
me.
through,
Everybody gets worked up with surveys.
right,
Well,
yeah.
who's gonna know? You're gonna find out it's me, I know you are.
Right.
Yeah, right.
What is our historic participation then? I know the one that we did a while back was a decent
I just remember
participation.
the referendum was really good.
I thought it was, around
Yeah.
There's-
60 to 70.
That's very
There's
good.
nothing people do to kind of tweak participation while maintaining anonymity, is there? Like a raffle or something like that? I'm actually being serious.
Oh,
like,
yeah, true, right.
You
Is that-
just random number or something.
Right.
Can we do that?
I don't know. I mean,
I don't
something-
know.
I don't know.
That'd be a legal
But-
question.
A Vanguard sweatshirt?
I've heard that come up before.
Not a bad idea. We can ask maybe
I bet they would know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve, using school perceptions to conduct a community perception survey?
So moved.
Second.
Any further questions? All right, hearing none. Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yep.
I vote yes. Now, moving on to 8.1. Do I have a motion to approve open enroll-in requests for 2023-2024 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All right, hearing none. Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yep.
I vote yes as well.
Could I ask you a quick question? Last meeting, or I think it was last meeting, we were talking about the 4K ins or whatever. Do you have any updates on that, or?
We do. Simply put, we can't cap them at this point.
In January, the board takes action on open seats, and our district set no limits for regular ed, and I believe 0 seats for special ed. And that's not necessarily uncommon. However, we have a all-day 4-year-old program, which is unique, and so we've got people that are interested in that. But we did call our legal counsel, and we can't reverse that. And we are hoping that, not that we don't want to offer opportunities for kids, that because it's a different program, you can't open enroll unless your school district has the program. Well, all schools have 4K. We were thinking, well, ours is different because it's all day, it doesn't matter. So we cannot cap that. Lesson to be learned, we'll have to really look at that this.
What are we up to then?
We're 61.
Wow.
So you get to that point where you get a couple more kids, and now you gotta hire a new teacher. I don't know if we can hire a new teacher right now, it'll be tough. And then you hire a new teacher, and then you have 3, 4 people that leave, and now you're back. It's just, so, we'll take a good look at that in January.
Well, and it's hard to forecast anything if people are just utilizing it for 1 year, and then kindergarten and on is a different strategy. All right, district business personnel, do I have a motion to combine 9.1 to 9.6?
Did you wanna separate them?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Oh, okay, yes, that's right.
I was gonna
Okay.
pull an Angie and go.
We'll
Yeah.
do
Just do.
9.1
We can
to
do-
9.6, and we're gonna omit.
You can do it, and I'll just have one abstain from that one.
Yeah.
I'll just write it down as he abstains from that one, so.
So when we
You can
take the
amend.
motion, just say you abstain from 9.4.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So do I have a motion to combine?
I'll make that motion, yes.
Second.
Awesome. Awesome to see a bunch of new hires. Woo. Any other questions? All right, you're done. Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes, but I abstain from 9.4.
I vote yes as well, but I'm technically like a 7th generation
Right.
relative, so maybe I should have
Where's the line?
abstained too, I know.
We're all.
Seven's pretty
I
far
know,
down.
I know. Okay. 10.1 here. Do I have a motion to approve a $500 donation from St. John/St. Paul Parish?
100% I will make that motion.
Yeah, thank you so much for your generosity, that's awesome. Is there anything else to be said? Just a general? Okay,
Yeah, that's all we have
awesome,
on that.
I love it.
Did you, do you have something on there? On what the donation was from, or?
Is there anything else to be said about the donation or in
They
general?
just designated the money for student supplies or a student saving.
Oh, amazing, wonderful. Well, thank you to them. And you're done. Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Yes. Matt?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Dylan? I vote yes as well, it's the M's. Yes. Future meeting dates?
A heads up. Both of us are actually gonna be gone on October 9th,
Okay. That's not our annual meeting.
No, it's
no.
not.
Okay.
but it is the first, it's the one, the meet and greet.
Correct.
So I'm kind of going that.
Sounds good. And we changed the annual meeting to 6 or 5:30? Is that 6:30? 6:30, okay, I knew those. Sounds good. Any other questions on that? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Cindy?
It's the same one every
I was
time.
gonna say.
Mary Beth? Mike? Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
Since you were standing in, like, you know.
It was kind of nice, they're all the same.
She's working for me.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, thank you.
She
Congrats on a great first day.